second in the point standings, coming into tonight just 72 points back. He is on pit road. The guy he was chasing, Jimmy Johnson, will lead him down. Tony Stewart second, Greg Biffle in third, Jeff Burton fourth, and Kyle Busch is now fifth. Greg Biffle will now move in the second position in the point standings, 107 points back. Burton is third, a 0-7 of Boyer up to fourth. A huge lick for Carl Edwards here, still sitting on pit road.
See Tony Stewart's cleared the lap car of Casey Mears. Has his sights set on Jimmy Johnson now. Never been able to run many laps in a row here since we went with that first caution. Had a couple of incidents since that time.
5-car Casey Mears is the first car a lap down. He's going to try to hang there so he can get the free pass if he were to get another caution flag, or maybe even drive this car back by the 2 leaders in front of him.
Casey's car looks pretty good. You see him hanging right with Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart right now.
I don't know how he lost a lap. As fast as his car is right now, he's hanging right with these guys.
Ken Schrader, the 96 car, has been taken now back to the garage area, involved in an impact a moment ago with Mike Skinner, which brought out the 3rd yellow of the night. Side-by-side action there. Lap car, it's Tony Raines on the inside. The 6 of David Reagan in the middle, and the 9 of Casey Kane looking back from Casey.
Mark Martin's now in the top 10.
There's Mark right there on the inside of Dave Blaney.
We'll check that last lap out of Jimmy Johnson, 29.54.
Mark Martin in the 8 car, 4-time winner at this racetrack, will run 3 more races this year in Atlanta, Texas, and Phoenix, and then turn the car over to Eric Almirola for the remainder of the year. There's our in-race reporter, Casey Kane, won here back in May, now being shown in the 10th position.
That's the lap car of Tony Raines right behind him, and right behind him you could see Martin Truex Jr. with a good run here. Casey looks like he's got his car going pretty good right now.
Check in on Casey Kane. Shannon.
Well, Casey does have that car going pretty good right now. On the first run earlier in the race, it was a little free, but he was battling some tight conditions through the turns. They made some air pressure adjustments to the right side of that car, and Casey's pretty happy with that car right now, guys. He said it's good.
'76 of 334 laps. Carl Edwards in the pits. We are watching Carl Edwards' championships hopes evaporate. He is still sitting there being shown now some 8 laps down. Mike.
And big changes. Mike Messick, the engine guy for Roush Fenway, was asking for some spark plugs. They wanted to see if they were getting a spark from the distributor at all. He got absolutely nothing. You can see now as you look inside that race car, they're changing out ignition boxes. Still, they've been unable to get the 99 refired. This looks like a very dire situation, championship-wise, for Carl Edwards.
Carl had never won at this racetrack, but he also had never finished worse than 15th here. Lead change. Left side of your screen, Tony Stewart goes by the 48 and makes it look easy. Just sailed by.
He's been putting a lot of pressure on Jimmy Johnson. I think Jimmy just says, okay, I've got a nice little lead in the points. I'm not going to take too much pressure for this lead. If Tony wants it, I'll give it to him, at least early in the race.
Yeah, not at this point in time. He's not going to battle there. But Tony looks like it takes about 7 or 8 laps for his car to really come in. And from that point on, this thing is a rocket.
By winning at Talladega last week, Tony Stewart gained 4 positions in the points, and now is already up a couple more by leading here.
See Kyle Busch here on the bottom. He's taken away that spot, the 3rd spot from Greg Biffle. Looks like he's got his car. We haven't said much about him tonight. Here comes Jeff Burton. He wants to get in on this action with Greg Biffle. Casey Mears once again is a lap down.
Greg lost a little momentum in that exchange with Kyle Busch. That let Jeff Burton catch right back up to him.
Here comes the 88 car in as well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. now closing in on Burton.
How aggravating is this, Dale, when you've got a lap car, Casey Mears, and you're trying to get this spot and you need some room? How aggravating is that?
Yeah, it makes it tough. It makes you put a little bit more pressure on yourself to make that happen, and you just have to be careful not to go over that edge. You hope that guy gives you a little bit of a break, and it looks like that's exactly what Casey did for Jeff Burton right there. That's his teammate coming up behind him. Dale Jr. moved back to that high line. Man, he's close to the wall.
Looks like his only good line for Junior is up high. Even if there's an opening on the bottom, he doesn't seem to be going for it.
Earnhardt Jr. in 6th position. Behind him, you see the 07 starting to move in a little bit. Clint Boyer in 7th spot. The black car. There's a 07, and Mark Martin right behind him in 8th position. 81 laps are in the books, and now Tony Stewart has led twice for 16 laps at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and Carl Edwards still in the pits. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Working lap 87 of the Bank of America 500 at Charlotte. Tony Stewart has now pulled away to a 3.2 second lead over that car. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch is third, Greg Biffle, and Jeff Burton rounding out the top 5. The 99 car of Carl Edwards has finally pulled back on the racetrack. He is being shown 16 laps down in 39th position. Mike.
And Doc, you can imagine the disappointment down here. Jack Roush with me right now. What have you been able to determine was the problem?
Well, we're not quite sure what the problem was. As they started working on it, it either could have been the ignition interrupter system, which shuts off the ignition, or something in the instrument panel and or the ignition boxes. They pretty much figured out that, determined it was not the interrupter system, but they wound up changing both ignition boxes and the wiring harness that controls it, and then magically it had ignition again. But it had no ignition on either box, and the initial diagnosis was that everything was dead. But they made a massive change of a modular electrical unit, and now it works. So we'll see what happens.
Obviously, this is the last thing you wanted to see happen under these circumstances, being in the chase. Can you give me some perspective? What's this like with 6 races remaining, with a possible title on the line?
Well, I'm sorry, Mike, I can't understand what you said, but it was obviously bad for our prospects for the championship. You know, we need, you can't afford 2 mulligans in a row like this, and we'll just have to see what happens. I certainly don't wish anybody else bad luck, but we're going to have some bad luck spread around before we can get back into it with the 99.
Disappointed team, Doc.
Here are the point standings as of right now. The 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, talking about the chase standings now. Biffle would be in 2nd position now. You see that Carl Edwards would have gone back to 6th spot. He lost 4 spots. He is some 206 points back in the chase point standings with now 5 races to go, but still a long way to go tonight. He's being shown 16 laps down in 39th position.
But Tony Stewart's gone. Look at these lap intervals. He's up to 4.5 seconds in the lead right now over Jimmy Johnson.
The only 2 cars that are running close to the lap times are Kyle Busch in 3rd and Greg Biffle in 4th, and they're generally at least 1/10 of a second off per lap from what Tony is running. You can see the 48 of Jimmy Johnson in 2nd. That's Kyle Busch right there in 3rd.
Traffic's not a factor. You can see those guys running by themselves.
Kyle Busch dominated the NASCAR Nationwide Series race here last night. Led 4 times for 137 laps, including the final 31. More on Kyle with Dave.
Doc, he's picked up 2 spots since that restart, and that's really good news for these guys. Crew Chief Steve Addington told me this morning that the problem with this car this weekend has been overall speed, especially at the get-go. He said after the first 12 laps, we're fine, but it's those first 12 that have really been giving us a problem. They've adjusted on this race car, and the fact that he passed Greg Biffle and Jeff Burton after the restart is a good sign.